Hey everyone, Melissa here. I wanted to film an introductory video for an author talk that I have coming up momentarily. This is a author talk with my friend Rachel Cole, who is the author of the new book Choose Happiness. I will be talking with her about her new book, which gives great ideas and insights on how we can all choose our own happiness and make our lives more meaningful and the lives of those around us as well. I was really thrilled to blurb this book. You can see on the back, and there's my friend Rachel right there. You'll meet her in the author chat video. But in my blurb, I said, in a world that can often turn dark and negative, Rachel Cole is an abundance of the brightest light. Through her inspiring words, Rachel's positive and upbeat message of choosing happiness, finding joy, and embracing hope becomes more than a catchy mantra. It is a living, breathing philosophy, one that resides at the core of her being and embodies the very essence of her soul. Rachel's natural ability to motivate and encourage others is an authentic gift that radiates from her heart and reverberates to everyone everywhere. As I said, I've known Rachel for many years. We grew up together in high school. We went to the same high school in suburban Philadelphia, and we have had great times together. So I am thrilled to be able to share in the joy of her book, share the book with all of you, and to welcome her to the channel for our author talk. Thanks so much, Rachel, and congratulations again.
Hi everyone, welcome to my booktube channel. This is Melissa and I am here with my good friend Rachel Cole, who is the author of a new book, Choose Happiness. I am so thrilled to have her with me as a special guest, and we're going to just be talking for a little bit about the book, about the ideas in the book, how it came to be, and hopefully that you will find something to take away from this that you can apply to your own life. And yeah, so let's get right into it. So Rachel, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you
I'm
for having me.
I am so thrilled to have you. I am so thrilled to have you, and congratulations on the book. I am just really, I feel like, wait a minute, I'm gonna try to put it like on display.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, so it's probably gonna fall and like knock me on the head, but
Yeah.
there we go, right?
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so anyway, congratulations on the book. I am so thrilled. As people may not know, but we have been friends for forever. So in addition to being a fan of your work, your singing, we have been friends since high school. We have a shared love of Saint Elsewhere, and I was saying that in my introduction video that I made, that I think that you have always had the ability to make something fun out of something that's sort of like sad or depressing. So I was thinking about that of, the last episode of St. Elsewhere, and we made it into like almost like a party for two with, Entenmann's chocolate chip cookies and, we're like crying, whatever. But that's what I remember about that. But would you agree with that? That's always kind of been in your nature to kind of see the best in situations. Yeah.
I think
Would you
so.
agree with that?
I think I've always been kind of a party ready to happen, I have to say. My career before my kids was an event planner, and people were like, that's perfect for you. Because I
It
love
is.
I love to get people together. I really love to laugh. And I think I've always tried to make the mundane a little bit special.
Mhm.
Like for my kids, when we would have dinner sometimes, if we'd have tacos, we'd also all wear sombreros, or we would, have Spanish lessons at the table, or, that kind of thing. And for my daughter, we'd have birthday parties, but we also have like no reason parties. Like we'd have a tea party
Mhm.
for her friends and those kinds of things. And I think they're also I've also been someone to stop and smell the roses as well.
Mhm.
And I remember things like driving my kids to school, we'd be at a red light and we'd hear the birds in the trees. So I put the windows down. I'd be like, hey, you guys, listen, the birds are having a party, or someone's angry with the birds. What's going on? So it's those moments of really taking the time to choose to find something fun to do rather than just, oh my gosh, we're late, we got to get to school, all that kind of stuff. So I would definitely say, yeah, I guess, are you born that way? I guess maybe.
Maybe, I mean, maybe it's a combination of things, like how you're raised, your genetics, but I think it's also like part of life experiences too, right? I mean, you write in the book about how there have been people in your life who have been mean to you, which I find completely like no. I mean, how anybody can be mean to you is it is just unfathomable. I mean, that's like, yeah. Yeah, but you write about that, about how that you've had experiences with people who have said, you know, you know, you don't look a certain way, or you're too organized, or like that's a bad thing. I mean, you know, um, but talk to me a little bit about that, about how that might have shaped your worldview a little bit.
Well, the whole, I talk a lot about happiness Teflon and the sticks and stones
Mm-hmm.
that bounce right off of you. That has been a very long time coming because, I think especially as women, we're kind of taught we need to please and we need to say the right thing and look a certain
Mm-hmm.
way. And um, I'm also a really sensitive person. So I would take that in, and I would, if that person wants me to feel bad about myself, I want to make them happy. So I'm going to feel bad about myself. And then
Mm-hmm.
as you kind of go through life and age, certainly you think, why am I putting any credibility to that person who doesn't care about me, obviously? And it's those kinds of things where I can choose to take what they say in and ruin my day, or just let it bounce off. And I would say I probably had to hit my mid 40s before I really got there. And
Mm-hmm.
as I also say in the book, these one moment of my life, you never know what's gonna happen, and it's gonna really stick with you. I was at the post office, and I mail stuff a lot, so I'm kind of friends with them there. And
I know, I'm the recipient of several of your of your trips to the post office.
so I was, this is obviously, way before COVID, but I was in line, and this woman was just screaming and yelling at Bill, the post office guy, and letting him have it. And he was just, yes, I'm sorry, I understand. And he never lost his composure. And I was like, wow. So I got up to the front. I'm like, wow, Bill, that was really hard. How'd you handle that? And he said, happiness is a choice. Why am I going to let some stranger ruin my day? And that was, talk about a light bulb moment. It was like, yes, exactly. And that was actually the catalyst for the website, which is blogs and videos and interviews. And then the book is what happened after that. So that
Mhm.
just stuck with me, and I've never forgotten it. And it's not always easy. You look at the world and what's going on. And
Right,
that's why I think it really is, you have to consciously make the choice every day. And some days are easier than others, for
right,
everybody.
exactly. And so there's a couple points on that I want to touch on, that about how it's easier to do that than not. And you write about that when you have to deal with people who you don't want to deal with, right? About how, like, maybe you're not looking forward to going to somebody's house or to seeing a particular person, and you talk about strategies um, to find how do you overcome that. What are some ways that you can get over that, and make that a better experience?
Yeah, this is hard because of course you want to say, well, if you don't want to do something, don't do it. But that's not always possible with family and friends and obligations and all that. So you think to yourself, okay, how can I handle this that it doesn't ruin my day or my evening or my whole
Mhm.
time? So one thing that I've employed in my life is I give people nicknames in my head, not out loud.
Right,
So
right.
I had to deal with this really unkind, difficult woman when I was volunteering for my daughter's school band, and she was just one of these people who was just mean. And it wasn't just to me, but oftentimes it wasn't me. So I gave her the nickname Nellie Olson. from the Little House books. Do you remember that?
Oh yes, we all remember. We all have a Nellie Olson in our past,
She was like,
even now as grown-ups, right? I mean,
she was like the meanest person I could think of, who just, everybody reads the book and we all just, we can't stand her. But it helped me in my brain because we'd go to a meeting and she'd be going on, and I was like, "Oh, there goes Nellie," and that just totally kind of diffused my blood pressure and my anger. Or I get an email where she was just saying, "You shouldn't have done this," and I'd be like, "Oh, Nellie, come on!" And that really was a 180 for me. And another nickname I gave a woman once was the Troll, and I don't know why, she just sort of embodied that. And that really helped too, because again, she was someone who would sabotage people at work, and people would kind of go the other way when she came down the hall. And just giving her that little moniker helped me to be like, "Oh, here comes the Troll." And I would kind of laugh. And that's a choice where I could have gotten upset every time I saw her. And I did for a very long time. And then again, it's kind of like, what? She didn't care. She would just spew her acid everywhere, and then we would all kind of have to recover. And it's like, why am I doing that to myself? Why does anybody do that to ourselves? So it's just,
right,
that's a little kind of way, a little bit, and it's not
right,
hurtful because they don't know.
right. It doesn't hurt her, and it kind of brings your anxiety or frustration with that person or that situation down to a manageable level, that you can still, maybe if you can't enjoy the event, you could kind of fake it a little bit, or whatever. Right,
Yeah,
right, yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And so you had also mentioned too that Bill from the post office inspired this whole this whole array of things that you're doing, the blog, the book, the everything. And you also mentioned that it was also part that you were looking for something as an empty nester mom, to do or to be involved in once your kids are. But I was also kind of struck by the irony that the whole Choose Happiness project has been something that has been all encompassing for your family in different ways. So can you talk about the ways that your family has gotten involved, like through the Blessing Fund and through Take Back the Movies? And it feels like this might have started as a Rachel thing, but it had ripple effects to the whole family too, and then to everyone really in your world.
Such a good point that I hadn't thought of. You're so right. That's exactly right.
This is why I'm paid the big bucks to come up with this observation.
Yeah, my husband Jason and I, we definitely have tried to raise our kids always thinking of others before ourselves.
Mhm.
And one way that we do that I do talk about in the book, which brings us the most mountainous amount of happiness you can imagine, is the Blessing Fund. And I can't remember how it started or when it started, but what we do is every year at the beginning of the year, we take aside some money and we put it in this designated fund. And there are rules around it. We cannot spend it on ourselves. It has to go to something sort of extraordinary or out of the ordinary. We give to charity as well, but this has to be something sort of different, if you will. And we have to use it up by the end of the year. And those parameters are important because I think we have really good intentions, but years can go by and it's kind of like, oh, we didn't give any of this money away. And believe me, some years it's not been a lot, some years it's been more, but it's just it's the intention of the giving that we really love. And so, for example, at Christmas time, we will go and we'll take items off the giving tree, and all of us have to go. That's the rule. We all have to go and pick up the presents. And to see my kids, this is an 8-year-old boy who needs snow boots. And so we'll go and my son will be like, "Oh, mom, those aren't cool. Get him these instead." Or sometimes different bicycles. So there's my 6'3" son getting on this pink, fringy bike, riding it around to make sure it works. And those are just these precious moments. And we will never hear from these people, and we don't care. That's not what it's about. It brings us joy to know that we're just helping somebody else in some way. And it's fun to think outside the box. Like we'll do, like, for example, a friend of mine's going through chemo and radiation right now. So we gave him a bunch of presents to open for every radiation treatment. And these are not, Ming vases and things. These are little, little just tokens. And what's amazing about it is to see that it went from, oh my gosh, I have to have chemo and radiation, until, believe it or not, one day the radiation machine broke and he was like, oh no, I don't get to go to radiation today because then I don't get to open my thing at the end of the day. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So it's just, again, it's these little things that we just use to kind of bless others in any way that we can. And again, sorry, take back the movies you were saying. After the horrific shooting in Aurora years ago, we had just moved to Colorado recently. And that's when my husband, Jason, said, we have got to do something. We can't just sit here and be upset about it. Of course we were. So we took some blessing fund money, and we also got a lot of donations, and we bought movie tickets. And the next weekend we stood outside of movie theaters. We also recruited volunteers, and we handed out movie tickets with a note to say, we're taking back the movies. We're bringing back some light into the darkness. And that was a phenomenal experience, because you'd be amazed by how many people pretended we weren't there. They just kept walking thinking we were solicitors. And it's like, no, we're just trying to do something nice. And it's also funny because I've gotten that a lot doing nice things. I'll make somebody a meal when God forbid they've lost someone. And the reaction will be, do you think I don't know how to cook? It's like, no, I just wanted to help in some way.
And like a comfort or something, right? Yeah.
And that's where you can't take that in. You have to. That's not the point. The point is to do this for the person. How they take it is up to them. And most people are very nice and gracious and all that, but it's definitely a big part of the four of us that we make helping others a priority in our life.
Mm-hmm. And in the book, you talk about how we can all do some level of that. Like you said, it doesn't have to be, grandiose things. Like, we may not all be able to pay for movie tickets for 100 people, or like Jason does, Starbucks for, the entire store or whatever. But we can all build our toolkit, and you talk about that, about ways that we can, have those devices, or those ways that we can build our own toolkit in order to increase the happiness in our lives and in other people's lives too. So what's in your toolkit?
Oh, that's a very good question. For me, music is huge. Obviously, I'm a musician, but I have different playlists. Like, I'll have my I gotta get happy playlist, or my I have to get determined to get this thing done playlist, or I'll have my contemplative going for a walk, I don't want to think about anything else playlist. And that's really, really helpful. And I found, at least for me, music, especially when I hear some 80s music, I'm right back to high school, which is good and bad. So I definitely have it. I'm always listening for new music, and I try to gather new stuff, because you do get tired of the old stuff, even though some of the stuff, like I have what I talk, it's called the it's an Ally McBeal theme song. Have your theme song. Right?
That was after us, though. That was 90s, but that's okay. We can borrow that from.
That's true. But like, have your own theme song that pumps you up. And some of these things are very silly, and people will say, oh, you're just so silly. And I want to say, well, what's wrong with that? We don't get any points in life for being angry and upset. And I think people feel like the angrier I am, or the more upset I am, the better it's going to be for the situation. It's like, never, ever. It never helps anybody. So there's things like, making sure to catch the sunset at the end of the day, or I love blowing bubbles, even though I'm a grown woman. I have them under my sink in the kitchen, and I'll go outside and I'll blow bubbles. And it's just those kind of things that just brings me joy. It's a couple minutes, and it just can change the whole day around.
Right.
Obviously, gratitude is huge. Having a gratitude journal or making a gratitude list, and then the always having something to look forward to is tantamount, which just made last year very difficult. We had many things to look forward to, but and then you have to kind of pivot sometimes. So I was looking forward to that. That didn't happen, so we'll look forward to this instead. So that's a couple things.
Mhm. And these are all applicable things that we can do even in a pandemic too. We may not be able to look forward to that vacation that we were looking forward to, or seeing family, or that special event. But we can look forward to, you know, like a fun dinner, like we were talking about earlier, or just to, like wear something. You talk about, your happy shoes, and we could put on our happy shoes, or something that makes us feel better, or even in a pandemic, there's still tools that we can use to do that.
Hmm. That's so true. I forgot about the happy shoes. So this is a concept
Yeah.
way back in college. There was this woman, this girl. I mean, she was a senior, so to me, she was a woman. I was a freshman, and she did this play we were in, and she would show up to rehearsal sometimes in this big frilly flowered skirt, and I was like, Susie, I love your skirt, and she'd be like, it's my happy skirt. I was like, what? What do you mean? She's like, well, whenever I'm feeling down, I put it on, and it makes me feel better. And I was like, that is brilliant. Because you're taking control of the situation in a way that you can. So I have
Right.
happy shoes, which are covered in glitter, and I love them. And I
Mhm.
wear them a lot, but I also pull them out if I'm just not feeling up to snuff. I'll be like, happy shoes, and they instantly lift me up. And it's the smallest thing, but it's having that intention. I'm having a bad day. I'm gonna change it, and here's how I'm gonna change it. And it just takes
Mhm.
a second. And that can make all the difference between sometimes going down the dark hole of despair and just having a little bit of hope for the rest of the day.
Mhm, mhm. And like we said, I feel like a broken record, but these are all things that we have the power in us to do. Because you can say, like, okay, depression's a real thing, and people who have had traumatic experiences, like, they're real things, and you may feel like there's no way of getting out of that. But I think what you offer are some concrete things that people can do to try to alleviate some of that, not to discount like those experiences or anything, but to say these are ways that you can that might help make your day a little bit better.
Exactly. And this is obviously no substitute for antidepressant medication. I'm a big proponent of that. And
Right.
therapy and all of that. Please do that when you need to. Um, but it's easy to be happy when everything's going great, obviously. But
Right.
we can't allow these external circumstances to determine our inner joy, because there's always going to be something to look at, and there's always going to be something wrong. And I think we
Mhm.
also get stuck, especially with COVID. Oh, well, when this is lifted, then I'll be happy and then I'll be content. Or people will say, when I fall in love, I'll be happy. Or when I get the perfect job, I'll be happy. Or when I get the big house, I'll be happy. And we can't do that. We absolutely cannot let any of those external circumstances affect us, nor can we wait. I feel like if last
Right.
resort anything, we can't wait. Now we only have now. So that's why it's
Right.
it's vitally, vitally important. And they are,
Right.
it's just, kind of little things just to maybe change the way you used to think about something, and think about it a different way. The coffee maker breaks. And it's like, oh, why has everything happened to me? This is so awful. Or it's, now I get to get a latte. This is great. And that, again,
Mhm.
seems simple, but it's just this little, trick of the mind to be like, now it's a great day. It was a crappy day, and now it's a great day because I get to get a coffee, or what have
Right.
you, you know?
Right. Exactly. Or I could try like the new tea that was in my cabinet or whatever. And yeah, I mean, we also we allow our happiness, I think, to be dictated, like you said, by future events. I'll be happy, when we get a new job, and like you said, and also by other people. And I think, your message is, it really does come from within. And I think that is so hard to learn personally. I mean, it's such a simple concept, but it's so hard to learn, like, personally. Um, and I know that it's, something that's been difficult in my own life, like learning that it comes from within. Have you found that to be true too?
Oh, yes. And I struggle with this at times as well. I am not dancing around with sunshine and unicorns all the time, believe me. Um, and I think, at least for me, I had to go through the difficult stuff to realize that I had to make the choice to go down a dark hole at times or to lift myself up out of it. I think when everything has gone, for whom has everything gone their way in their life? I can't think of anyone. But if you've had, an easy life, then it is you're just kind of skipping blithely along. And well, of course I'm happy, or you might let little tiny things get to you that really you're like, you're upset about that. Whereas if you've had some big traumas, you're kind of like, I did not sweat the small stuff because I have already been through that, and that is bupkis, So yeah, it has definitely been a long time coming, and I'm still a work in progress, like everybody else.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we
Aren't
all?
we all?
Yeah. But
Yes.
it's that thought of kind of with Bill the Post Office. Why should I let that stranger take away my joy? Same way, why should I let that other driver? Why should I let this thing happening in the news that I can't control? It's all of that things where you have to ask yourself, why am I letting all that get to me? And as I say in the book too, we do have to get angry and we do have to be aware of what's going on to make positive change. But for the most part, when we look at the things around us, we can say, that's terrible. Oh, that's horrible. Can you believe that happened? And you can say, that's not great, but I'm going to look at it this way. That's a horrible thing that happened. I'm going to mourn it and deal with it and then move on from it, et cetera, et cetera. So it is work. It is definitely work to do this, but worthwhile.
Right. Does Bill from the post office know that how he's inspired you with all of this?
Funny story. It's funny. I didn't even know his last name, and he actually left that post office so I didn't know. No. I know where he was, and so because I'm actually literally friends with one of the people there because I've seen her so many times. I texted her and I said, "What happened to Bill? I gotta let him know. He helped me write this book and start this movement." So she let me know that he's at this post office that's about an hour and a quarter away in this tiny little town. So actually yesterday I drove down there and I saw him and I gave him a book and I said, "You are not going to believe this." And he was like, he couldn't, I think it was maybe 2.5 years ago when it happened. Of course, he didn't remember it, but it was just, he was blown away and it was good to see him. And it was delightful. It was a great kind of full circle moment for me, for sure.
Right. And that is like the power of everything that we're talking about. Like, probably hasn't thought about that or that woman for years, for 2 years or whatever. And here you have he probably had no idea like what the impression that he made and what he inspired. So that is pretty awesome. So I want to read a passage for people in the book, but before I do that, any like final messages or anything else that you want to convey that we have not touched on?
I guess what I want to say is that it's really, choosing happiness and what happiness means is so intrinsic to each person. And so I feel like someone might read some of this and just be like, I can't relate to that. But it's, from what I'm told, it's a night table book. So it's meant to sort of sit by your night table. And then when you need to pick me up, or you need, you can open up to any page or any chapter and hopefully you'll get the right words that you need. So it's definitely not a narrative. So that would be kind of the takeaway. You might find, I hope you get something good out of it, but it kind of take what you will and leave the rest kind of thing.
Right.
But,
right. Now, some people, I don't know if people can really see, but yeah, the chapters are very short, very brief. You can read several before falling off to sleep, or when you do need that kind of pick me up. As you can see, my copy is tabbed with certain parts that really did resonate with me very much. But I think like the part that was really kind of like an aha moment for me, it came towards the end, and I'll read this for people. I should have you read it, but the fans planning, oh well. it comes like towards the end, and it is in the chapter Change the Station, and you're talking about how you were driving in the car one day and you heard a song that brought back bad memories or whatever, and it was like, you know, I have the choice to change the station, right? And and how that kind of connects with the idea of choosing our own happiness. So you say we can't expect anyone else to do it for us. It's up to us to choose to change what we don't like about our lives. Like those friends who let us down on a regular basis, or that coworker who is constantly taking advantage of our good nature and work ethic, or those memories that send us spiraling downward instead of lifting us up. We don't have to get stuck in those anymore. We don't have to continue on in relationships that don't make us happy or feed our souls. We don't have to say yes to every single person's request of us. We are not stuck where we think we are, regardless of our circumstances. Most importantly, though, I think we need to change the station when it comes to what we tell ourselves. There's that little voice in our heads that tells us we are not good enough, or that we'll never get it all accomplished, or that it's pointless to even try because it's not going to work out anyway. It also pipes up to remind us that happiness means the other shoe will drop at any minute, and that it's foolish to have high hopes and dreams for ourselves. Oftentimes, these words were spoken originally by someone else, but we have made them our own and we cling to them as the absolute truth. This particular station needs to be turned off completely, replaced by presets that applaud our successes, foster joy and optimism, and encourage us in our pursuits and endeavors. Let these be the ones we go to when we look in the mirror or talk to others or think about trying something new. And I think that sums up the entire book so well. And like that is just, I don't know, there's just something about those couple paragraphs that like, yes, like that's exactly it. Like we do all have the power to do that within ourselves. So thank you for that. I think I think that those are wise words for everybody, really. So
Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. Thank you.
sure. So I wanted to remind everyone I've been talking to Rachel Cole, and she is the author of the new book, Choose Happiness. I will link in what I will. I should have assumed that you had it. You could have read it.
Oh, no, loved your reading. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
I'll just take your words as my own, right? Which is kind of the point. So I will link in the show notes of my channel where you can purchase Choose Happiness, and all the other details of where you can find Rachel's music and her website, um, and all of the good stuff that she offers. So anyway, Rachel, thank you so much for being my guest today. I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I have, and I hope that you continue choosing happiness in your life, and that your words find resonate with more people, throughout the world. So
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored. It was so good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right.